and welcome to Archaeopolitics, a podcast about politics in the wizarding world of Harry Potter. I am your recovering English major, Adri.
And I am Julianna, your Hufflepuffin runner. And today we are discussing Chapter 4 of Order of the Phoenix and the politics of secrecy. Shh.
Secrets.
Who knows what you'll find out in this episode? Stay tuned. But before you figure out what secrets lie ahead, we just want to let you know that we have a question for our dear listeners that we have been putting out for a little while now. And hopefully soon we will do a accumulation episode with all the lovely stories you guys have shared with us. But the question is, how has Harry Potter affected your politics or your life views or any way that you frame or view the world? So if you'd like to let us know, please hit us up at 915-996-1699, info@aciopolitics.com, or we are at Aciopolitics on all of the socials. But now, back to secrets. Shh.
Before we get to secrets, though, Juliana,
Oh boy.
we've been getting really good feedback on how Harry Potter has impacted people's politics. And if you DM us, email us, or leave us a voicemail, as some of you have been doing, we are compiling all of that for a very special episode.
Yeah.
And if we choose your, message, voicemail, or any other thing for that very special episode, we will be sending you a free sticker. That's right, a free sticker.
Pew, pew, pew. That's the budget we're working on. We have Julianna and sound effects here.
Yeah, I think
Homemade.
we need a soundboard.
We'll work on it.
But speaking of soundboards, which is an investment, obviously, you can support this podcast on patreon.com/Archaeopolitics and get stickers too. So not only you can get a very special sticker for listeners who leave us voicemails, emails, and other such things that we choose to put on the podcast, which is, I feel pretty good motivation and incentives to put the best foot forward on how Harry Potter has impacted your politics, right?
Oh yeah.
That will be a very separate design from anything else that you will get on Patreon. So it's also super exclusive, if I do say so myself.
Ooh, so you guys better step up to the plate then. We want to hear from you. And like Adri said, we've gotten some pretty good responses so far. And who knows, maybe at some point we'll even reach out to a few of the people to have them come on the podcast and maybe they want to share their stories.
Ooh, that'd be great. Yes.
Yeah, so we will keep you posted. We will keep you updated. So stay tuned.
All right. I think we're good to go. Do you want to talk about your, how you're feeling, your surgery? You're okay? You're alive?
The surgery went very well, and I'm really happy with how everything's going. I actually ended up going back to work about a week earlier than they were even thinking of me going back. I got out of the hospital even a day earlier than they were thinking I would even get out. So that was just absolutely fantastic. Again, thank you to anyone who showed your support for me, reached out to me, did anything in regards to just being nice to me. I appreciate it. Thank you. Any updates that you have for us, Adri? Anything happening over there that's fun and fancy?
We are still figuring out my meds for my ADHD, but that's about the health and wellness update on the Adri front. I've been crafting a lot, as you know, Juliana. And
yeah, you opened your Etsy store.
Yes, neoncastaway.com. So just a plug for my store, and just been chilling and making cute stuff that I like, because my audience for my store is me.
Hey, I mean, I feel like that's the best way to make authentic, fun, and exciting things is to be your own customer,
Yeah,
right?
I just don't like because when you try to go with whatever trends or whatever you think people will buy, I'm just like
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't motivate me enough. Like money
Yeah.
itself is not like enough of a motivator for me to do things like that. So I'm just like, but if I wouldn't wear it, why would I want to create it? Or if I wouldn't put this in my home, why would I create it?
Well, plus, if you don't end up selling it, then you have someone that you know, i.e., yourself, who
That
will be
loves it.
using these items
Correct.
anyway.
Correct. You get me.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Well, everyone go check out, what was the name of your shop again? Was it Neon Castle?
Neon Castaway.
Castaway, I'm sorry. So go check out Neon Castaway on Etsy.
Yeah,
Hooray.
hooray. But also, I bought the domain. So if you go to neoncastaway.com, it'll direct you to the store.
Oh, cool. Good to
Yeah.
know.
Just trying to be like a real shop.
Yeah. It's hard sometimes. Running an Etsy store can be kind of a pain in the butt, but if you
Well,
if you have people who are going to buy stuff from you and you have the time for it, it's worth it.
yeah. So I've made a sale, so I'm very excited.
Yay.
From what I've read, January and February are the least popular months on Etsy for people to buy things because it's right after the holidays. So I was like, oh, so I chose to open my store on the least popular month for
Yeah.
purchases. Cool. That's great to know.
It'll give you time to kind of work out the kinks before all the gift giving seasons kind of kick in.
You know what? I really appreciate your attitude on this. And I'm going to take this. I will take this.
Take that positivity and put it in your pocket and save it for later.
Ah, you're the best. All right, let's move on to secrets because we've already been spilling too many secrets of our own.
Oh boy, just spilling that tea all over the place. Okay, so our chapter this week, as we said, was chapter 4, and the name of the chapter is number 12, Grimwald Place, which is confusing because there's 2 numbers in this chapter name, and so I was confused. I was like, wait, we're doing number 12? No, we're doing chapter 4, but then it's number 12. But, so, as we left it at the end of the last chapter, Harry was looking at a little piece of paper, and he sees that it says number 12 Grimwald Place, and he's like, but that's not a real building that's out here. And then all of a sudden we kind of just see it like accordion out of the buildings, and voila, we go through the door. Mrs. Weasley is there. Harry isn't allowed to go to the meeting for the Order of the Phoenix that is currently happening. This is the point, I think, where we first hear Order of the Phoenix for the first time, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, besides like in casual mentions in the earlier chapters where they're like, he's not in the Order, or something like that. So they're having a meeting with the Order of the Phoenix. Harry has to go upstairs with Hermione and Ron. Hedwig is waiting for him up there. But their reunion goes south pretty quickly, and Harry is pretty mad that Ron and Hermione left him out of the loop. They're trying to explain that no one would let them talk to him or send him any information. He's really not hearing it. This is where we get another variation on all caps Harry. He's just letting us know loud and clear that he is pissed off. Oh boy.
Pissed off Harry is the best Harry, though.
He's sassy and I love it.
I love that you call him Sassy Harry.
Yeah, he's sassy Harry. I feel like sassy is more of like a loving term than being like mad Harry, because like we still love him, but he's just being a sass master right now. So as soon as that starts happening, we get Fred and George who come down, and they have these wonderful gadgets called extendable ears that they apparently have been using to listen in on things that have been happening at the Order meetings throughout the entirety of the summer. So that's what they're going to try and do and figure out what is going on. So the Order currently is following Death Eaters, which are Voldemort supporters, recruiting more people for the Order, and they seem to be standing guard over something. But what that something is, we're not 100% sure, but Harry's pretty sure they're talking about him. So,
I mean, Harry's just like, everything's about me right now.
yeah, he's like, me. It's all about me.
Sometimes I think like I have to like talk myself down from things because I'm like, Adriana, life is not all about you. And maybe that's just the Gryffindor thing, you know?
I was going to say, that's why you and Harry are in Gryffindor.
And I'm just like, well, that person was kind of moody towards me. I mean, they didn't say anything rude, but like their energy was off, right? And I'm like, they must hate me. And I'm like, sometimes what people do, say, or are feeling has nothing to do with you.
Yep. And that is why we all go to therapy. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Before then, I would take everything very personally.
Oh, same. It's a journey. But getting back to our chapter summary, so what we were actually talking about, coming back around at you. So back to where we were in the chapter. So we learn during all this extendable ear listening that Percy is no longer really in touch with the Weasley family. There was a fallout and a fight between Mr. Weasley and Percy, and we learn that pretty much Mr. Weasley wasn't happy about Percy's promotion within the ministry and his new job, and Percy is mad that Mr. Weasley doesn't believe that he got the promotion for a good reason, and Mr. Weasley thinks that he just got promoted because Percy's related to all these people who are in the Order of the Phoenix, and that way they can kind of use Percy as a seed to get information from.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some kind of blowout fight. So Percy's kind of out of the picture. Mr. Weasley is mad, and the rest of the Weasley family is not really talking to them. So as the meeting downstairs wraps up, Mrs. Weasley comes upstairs, and she is calling them down to dinner. Harry is still angry, and this is where we meet Creature, our friendly little crotchety house elf, who belongs to Sirius, who wants nothing to do with him. And then at the very end of this chapter, we get to meet the lovely mother of Sirius Black as she screeches through the hallway. And then we end with that. So that is chapter 4 of Order of the Phoenix Julianna version. Thank you.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much.
I try. So, politics. So our politic, as we said, of this chapter, we picked secrecy. So I don't know if you want to start out with any thoughts that you had about that first, Adri?
Sure. I think with secrecy, what we have to think about usually is when you withhold information from people, you're exerting a type of power over them, whether it is to protect or to ruin someone. That's still a level of power you're exerting on people, because knowledge and access to knowledge is something that can liberate people, ruin people sometimes, right? Depending on what kind of knowledge they are accessing, and or secrets they're accessing, but also the picking and choosing who gets what information and in what slant is also a very powerful act.
Yeah. Well, you're essentially working as a gatekeeper if you're the person who's deciding who gets what information. And we see this like literally in the books. You're a secret keeper. You're someone who has the power to really make big things happen. Or prevent big things from happening. So you have to take that seriously, especially, it also depends on obviously the like level and seriousness of the secret. Like if the secret is that like my favorite color is orange instead of red, like does that really change too many things? Probably not.
When I think about secrets, or when we think about secrets, and access to information or keeping information from people, the information they are keeping from Harry directly impacts his life. And because they are seen as keeping information from Harry instead of keeping him informed in this moment, Harry feels like there's that distrust, right? And that distrust makes him do the things, later on, makes him act in the way that they think that he's going to act if he learns the information. So it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of a double-leveled situation too, because Harry is angry that Ron and Hermione haven't told him anything. And they did obviously make the conscious choice not to tell him anything, but they were instructed by Dumbledore and all the other people in the Order not to tell him anything. So ultimately, they aren't the top of the tier secret keepers in this situation. They're more like middle management secret keepers. So, but Harry in this chapter specifically doesn't take out any of his anger on Dumbledore. We see it kind of brewing as the chapters progress and the book goes on, and he kind of realizes more of the complexity of the situation that's happening. But yeah, in this situation, he's so upset that they haven't told him anything, because they're supposed to be his best friends, right? And friends don't have secrets.
Well, and that tells me also, like, that the fact that they value the promise that they made to Dumbledore over keeping Harry informed means a lot, to that friendship, but it's also very telling of the power that Dumbledore has over people, right? So a promise to Dumbledore means more to Hermione and Ron than their best friend.
Yeah. Well, I think like you said, Dumbledore has a lot of power in that situation, so I'm sure a lot of it, the reason that they didn't tell Harry was not necessarily like super scared fear-based, but fear-based as to what would happen if they were to tell him anything. Because, as we know, Dumbledore is one of the greatest wizards of all time. So you don't want to cross his path too many times in the wrong way, because we don't know what he's fully capable of. Would he probably do something to Ron and Hermione? That's questionable. I don't think it would be I think Mrs. Weasley would honestly be worse on them than he would. But maybe Dumbledore knows that too. He knows that if Ron and Hermione overstep their boundaries and tell Harry something, and he mentions that to Mrs. Weasley, she'll send them hell in a handbag. So, again, multi-tiered situation. But I think you're right. In this chapter, the main secret keepers, I'd say, are probably Dumbledore, Dumbledore, Hermione, and Ron. But we also see that the Order of the Phoenix is keeping secrets from everyone, not just Harry and Ron and Hermione, but also like Fred and George and Ginny or any other people in the house. I think those are the only people who are quote unquote underage in the house at this point. But
that makes me also think about, like, okay, so we've got all these wizards in the house. Fred and George, at least, are of age now, but they're still going to school. And there's this idea that it is okay to keep the secrets from them because they are still in school, therefore they're not perceived as adults by the adults.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like in my family, when we had holidays, you would sit at the kids' table, or you sit at the adult table. So even if you were, now our kids' table, the age starts at like 22, so it's like people aged 22 and up at the kids' table, so it's not really like a kids' table anymore, but we still have those two tables. And I remember when I was younger, there were a few holidays where one of my older cousins would go and sit at the adults' table, because she was like 20, 21 at that point. And really the main reason was the fact that the kids' table was just a tiny table and there was not physically enough seats at that table, but having her move over to that quote unquote adults table was like mind blowing for the rest of us. And it's hard for the parents too. Like, it's definitely hard for Mrs. Weasley, I'm sure, to see Fred and George as being old enough to be full age wizards and quote unquote handle this kind of responsibility and information. And I'm sure as a mom, she doesn't want to even deal with that, which I'm sure plays into this somehow.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So, and as we see in some of the later chapters, which I believe it's actually the next chapter, Mrs. Weasley's pretty adamant about laying down the law as to who gets what information. So she's definitely a big secret keeper on the whole, especially in the beginning of the book.
Mrs. Weasley.
She's got opinions and she's loud and she's going to let you know what they are.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's about age and agency and access to that secret, right? And then people, part I think of Mrs. Weasley's like adamant like behavior of not letting Fred and George like into the order is also like, I am not ready for you to grow up. I just lost Percy in a way, and I cannot have you also, like leave me with just Ron and Ginny.
Just Ron and Ginny. They're not enough for me.
No, but like you go from having like 4 children to having like 2, and like the rest are adults.
Yeah. Well,
and one of them is gone to the ministry.
And we could also argue that Ron is clearly not his parents' favorite child. So.
Yes, correct.
So
he's also not a lot of readers' cup of tea either.
Yeah, I mean, I like Ron, but I wouldn't qualify him as my favorite character or even my favorite Weasley. Probably just because I like Fred and George so much. And then Book
They're
Ginny.
so delightful. Yeah, Book Ginny is the best.
Book Ginny is great. Movie Ginny, no, I'll take a pass on that. But I could see why Mrs. Weasley wouldn't pick Ron as her favorite. No offense to Ron, but...
Ooh, controversial opinions by Julianna.
Hot takes with Julianna. Another sound effect for our soundboard when we get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we see all those secret keepers in this chapter, and then I think the last one which isn't really mentioned too much in this chapter, but has like an overlying theme in this chapter, is Fudge himself, the Minister of Magic, the one who I didn't really touch on it much in our chapter overview, but Hermione points out all of the articles that the Daily Prophet has been putting out in regards to subtle mentions as to how Harry is crazy, all he things he says are crackpot theories. No one should really pay attention to him because it's just nonsense. And this is all coming from Fudge, because as we know, he is in denial that Voldemort is back, and he's going to use all his power to stay within his own power, because he'll be fully discredited. And we see that in the next book when we get Rufus Scrimgeour, because people like vote Fudge right on out of office right as soon as he can't prove that Voldemort isn't back. So, I mean, his fear is realistic, but we see that Fudge is kind of the secret keeper for the entirety of the wizarding world at this point, but not in a good way.
There's a lot going on. And also, let's talk really quickly about the biggest secret in this chapter, which is Grimmauld Place, right? So,
oh yeah,
right? Like, this is a actual building that several people have kept secret because it's the headquarters of the Order of the Phoenix. And the only way it is secret is because there's like a secret keeper, and you can only see it and, you know, have access to it if you have like understanding of how it works.
Yeah. No,
or like if you know the address, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the address of the whole chapter, the whole title of the chapter is essentially a secret.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously Harry Potter's a super secretive book series, and we could just all talk about how everyone's keeping information from other people with sometimes good intentions and disastrous results.
Exactly. It's just a big old series of secrets, left and right, up and down.
What a series. But I think we've like battered this to death. So tell me about that quote in the chapter that made you think, politics of secrecy. This is where it is.
Okay, so I picked a quote from chapter 4, obviously. Don't know why I was going to say the chapter, but that's okay. Page 65. And let's see if I can do a dramatic reading of this. Okay, let's see who's talking first. So how come I have to stay at the Dursleys while you two get to join in everything that's going on here? Said Harry, the words tumbling over one another in a rush, his voice growing louder with every word. How come you two are allowed to know everything that's going on? We're not, Ron interrupted. Mum won't let us near the meeting. She says we're too young. And before you knew it, Harry was shouting. And I'll just read this off. So you haven't been in the meetings. Big deal. You've still been here, haven't you? You still have been together. Me, I've been stuck at the Dursleys for a month, and I've handled more than you two have ever managed, and Dumbledore knows. Who saved the Sorcerer's Stone? Who got rid of Tom Riddle? Who saved both your skins from the Dementors? Every bitter and resentful thought that Harry had in the past month was pouring out of him. His frustrations at the lack of news, that the hurt that they had all been together without him, his fury at being followed and not being told about it. All the feelings he was half ashamed of finally burst their boundaries. So I thought that was kind of a good quote as to what happens when you keep secrets from someone, and that is just the reaction that Ron and Hermione thought they were going to get out of Harry, and they did. Yeah, it's crazy. You would guess something like that, but I don't know. I think they just met the other day.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's been just a little bit. They're just very perceptive people.
Yeah, they're very empathetic, just can read a room like no one's business.
All right, are we ready for mine?
Yes, lay it on me.
This is one of my favorite characters, Book Ginny, okay?
Oh, boy.
And this, I think, encapsulates like why we all love her at this point and how we start falling in love with Book Ginny. Tonks told me how to find out, said Ginny. You just chuck stuff at the door, and if it can't make contact, the door's been imperturbed. I've been flicking dumb bombs at it from the top of the stairs, and they just soar away from it. So there's no way the extendable ears will be able to get under the gap. And it's just kind of things of like, one, Tonks didn't have to tell her how to do things, right? Like she could have kept it a secret, but Tonks didn't feel like Ginny needed to be kept away from that information. So Tonks has more faith in Ginny's like agency, right? As an individual. And that kind of, to me, it like shows like the tension running through this chapter and the next chapter actually, which is some people feel like the children, quote unquote children, right? So teenagers should know what is going on so that because well-informed people make better choices, right? And the more conservative stance is that they shouldn't be knowing everything. And then there's like Lupin in the next chapter who's like somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah, we'll definitely see this play out in the next chapter. I know we had a pretty extensive discussion about it too. So people stay tuned for the next week. Yay!
Yes. So the idea of secrecy as a tool to control, manipulate, and exert power is clearly seen in this chapter and the next one, even by people who mean well.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a really interesting idea to think about.
Yeah. And it's also interesting, and I know we talked about this too, as to what the rules are for who knows what. And it's kind of like the arbitrary, I'm just going to say arbitrary anyway, arbitrary rules of like drinking ages and smoking ages and things like that. It's like, who decided that these people, or like what even qualifies as an adult too? Like what at age 18, besides completing school, makes you an adult? And just kind of these arbitrary ages and that people in society have assigned to certain things that don't necessarily correlate. And we see that in this chapter and the next chapter too. So, but which character did you pick, Adri, that exemplified the topic for you in this chapter? Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, because she has taken measures to shut out people from, not people, like the kids or whatever, how she thinks of them, from the information they so desperately seek, and then keep them busy, like cleaning a house so they're so tired they cannot be so devious.
But she was proven wrong.
Well, she's trying real hard, okay?
I feel like no matter how hard you try, you can't outsmart Fred and George. It's just kind of the fact of the matter.
I also want to like shout out to Fred and George for being like, time is galleon's little brother. And I'm like, yes, that's how you can tell they're going to be successful businessmen.
Yep. Oh, I love Fred and George. They're like two of my favorite characters in the entire book series. Love them. Same. So I picked for this chapter, I picked Harry just because he is kind of the main quote unquote victim of all the secrecy that is happening, which I felt is mostly at the fault of Dumbledore because he's kind of at the figurehead of all the secrecy at this point. He's the one calling the shots, for better or worse. And yeah, and Harry essentially is the thing and the person that they've been trying to keep secrets from all summer. And it worked up until right now. Oh, darn.
Oh, no.
So what media have you been consuming this week?
Oh, the way we end all our episodes with a non-Harry Potter related question. All right. So cool. Let me think about this because I've been working real hard this week and I have nothing in the doc, even though I thought I had something on there.
Oh, it's fine. Here, I can go if you want.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Oh, okay. So I've been working real hard, at work. Working real hard at work. Can you tell I'm a person of words and letters? Like, this is the least eloquent I have ever been in my life. Actually, no, that's not true. But, let's be real. Like, I'm not very verbally eloquent. So I've been working a lot and putting in long hours. So what that means is sometimes I have to do tasks that take a long time, but, may not be as taxing in terms of thinking capacity. So sometimes I can listen to audiobooks, or if I'm I can't go to sleep and I have something a lot of thoughts going on because I'm thinking still about work and I'm at home and I don't need and I am at a stopping point, I will listen to an audiobook for an hour to kind of force me out of that headspace so I can just go to sleep. So I listened this week to a fantastic audiobook at twice the speed. So it took me half the time it usually does. maybe 3 hours, 3.5 hours.
Damn, girl.
No, but I mean, it was throughout the entire week. So like anytime I needed like a mental break. And it was called Would Like to Meet. And it is about this Hollywood screenwriter assistant. She works for an agency, and she's been an assistant for 7 years, and she's kind of in a rut. And her having to like orchestrate some like hilarious meet cutes because the screenwriter that the agency represents, which is the one that like holds the agency afloat and her job afloat, told her that was kind of the only way that he was going to write the rom-com he signed on for because he thinks they're beneath him.
Interesting.
I'm not going to give endings away, but it was surprisingly very good for, because I love rom-coms, love, any plot that involves some kind of like people falling in love with each other. I'm a softie. It's okay. But sometimes you get really tired of the formulaic situation of that. And I've been toying around with like, a book of my own, no big deal. And I've been writing, but this was one of the ones where I was like, this is almost like something of what I was wanting to write, where it's more about the person's career, and it's more about her personal growth and finding someone who is complementary to her goals and respectful towards her, and all these other things, right? So it was a really good read, and it's about friendship, so it's about more than just love, you know what I mean? It's really good.
I call that guys being like a purse, like a nice purse. Like, you don't need them, you can carry your stuff on your own, but if you have a nice designer purse, it's nice, but you can change them out here and there, chuck it in the trash, send it to Goodwill.
Yeah, and like finding a really like decent guy, right? And a kind person or girl, or non-binary person, whoever. Finding a good person to share your life with is like if we're stretching the personality, right? Like finding a classic item that will never go out of style.
Yep, exactly.
Sure, you have to invest more time and care in maintaining it, but it's worth it.
Love it. Love me a metaphor. Okay, so this week I realized that Worst Cooks in America is back on the Food Network. And people, if you have not watched this show, you are not living, because I only watch like 2 shows regularly. It is this one, and it is Project Runway, and they are both happening right now. So currently, Julianna is at her maximum of watching 2 full TV shows a week. It's an undertaking because I'm so bad. My ADD is awful. So the premise of this show is essentially they find literally the worst cooks in America, and it has Anne Burrell on it. And this season they brought on Alton, who is, oh gosh, what's his last name? He's the one who does Good Eats on the Food Network. He's been on the Food Network for like probably as long as they've existed. Alton Brown, I'm sorry. I love him. He's great. So they're both super, it's hilarious. And these people are literally like cartoon characters of people that they bring on. And the food that they make is just like bonkers, batshit, banana crazy. So if you want to laugh, I would highly recommend this. And then you'll feel so much better about your own cooking afterwards too, because there's no way in all of hell that you can make food that is as god awful as some of these people make. So if you want a good confidence boost, go give this a listen, and a watch, I'm sorry.
Oh, that sounds really great.
I love it. Makes me chuckle every time.
Oh, good stuff.
Okay, so Adri, if we want to find you, where can we find you hanging out?
You can find me hanging out at twitter.com, like the old say.
Okay.
At Anana Banana, and also on Instagram at Anana Banana.
And you can find me at Julianna, like grape jelly, _runs on Instagram. Hit me up on Twitter. I won't hit you up back. I haven't been on there in months. So if you want to get in contact with me, Instagram is the way to go. And before we wrap up our show, we just want to round back around to our question for our listeners. How has Harry Potter affected your politics and your view in the world? Again, you can let us know. Give us a voicemail at 915-996-1699. Send us either an audio recording of yourself or a written email at info@aciopolitics.com. And then you can hit us up on any of the socials at Aciopolitics. And I know I have had some people actually DM me a few things, which is absolutely fine too. I'm sure that Adri would be fine with that too if you want to share with either one of us, and we'll just share it with the other person or put it in the doc when we get it. And also, Patreon, support us there. So, yay!
Yay! And also, just to let y'all know, last Friday, the second installment of the webcomic series, The Life of a Hogwarts Admin of Hogwarts' admin staff, came out. It's pretty hilarious.
Oh boy, you guys better hurry up on over there and join our Patreon. So
well, and so in the week before, Girl Who Lived, and then this week also Girl Who Lived, so I feel like it's pretty good.
Yeah, I can't see why you wouldn't want to be over there. There's a lot happening.
Oh, boy oh boy, is there. All right. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Accio Politics. Until next week, take care and
politics manage.
Yay!